My name is Carl and I work the night shift at a remote gas station. The nights are usually slow, and I'm hardly bothered by anyone because of how far out the store is, which means I can spend most nights just scrolling through my phone undisturbed. That was, however, until this fateful night.
Hello sir, do you sell any baguettes?
Yeah, over there, 1982 Grain Nourishment aisle. Whoa, what the fuck? Where the hell did he go?
Right here. This baguette is stale!
Boo. Me and my friend were driving across country on a long road trip to meet up with our other group of friends that we hadn't seen for a while. Specifically Arnold. He was our best friend. Most of the trip could be done on the highway. However, halfway through we would have to cut off onto side roads that would leave us in the middle of nowhere. We drove along this sandy, dirty road for hours until our car suddenly ran out of gas. Shit, I muttered as the Jeep came to a slow stop.
I think there's an emergency canister in the back,
Said my friend in a completely normal tone of voice. Getting out of the car in the darkness of the night left me frightened, and I didn't even make it to the boot before I heard footsteps behind me. "Who's there?" I shouted. Without a word, 5 men came jumping down from the hill behind me.
We're the Monkey Boys, the culture boys, who are also monkeys. You're coming with us, boys.
What do you want from us?
Take off your pants.
What?
Take off your pants.
What? No. Wait. Arnold, is that you?
No?
Man, fuck you! In that moment, the fight broke out. The biggest, most insane fight of the day, probably. I beat the shit out of Arnold, but he had stolen the gas from the boot of my car and left us stranded in the middle of nowhere. What will we do? We're lost. Oh.
Do you hate being poor? Do you want to be rich like me? And if you're having doubts, just look at all these.
My name is Jeremy. This story starts when I was on my way back from work, taking the subway like usual. The time was 3 a.m. as the train pulled up to its final station. I realized I missed my stop and needed to shit badly. Really badly. Dashing up from my seat, I leapt out of the train, clutching my cheeks as I spied the escalator on my left, and raced up to it with all my might and ran around the corner to the bathroom. Thankfully, each platform had a similar layout and I knew exactly where the toilets were. As I sat on the musty, decrepit toilet seat, I heard the distinct groans of an old man coming from the stall beside me. Each creak and pop in his croaky voice sickened my inner core. And then I heard him thud against the wall, dividing us. Hey man, are you alright? I called out as I quickly finished up, freaked out at his now undistinguishable muttering. With no response, I walked out of the stall and washed my hands, trying to think about my next move, as I still had missed my stop. Realizing his groaning had ceased, I simply walked away thinking nothing of it besides him having a bad time on the shitter. I walked out of the subway station knowing that I had just rode the last train for the next 3 hours and began to wander around, trying to figure out exactly where I was and how far from my apartment the stop left me. Only when I stepped out into the streets was it that I finally realized I was in the shady part of town. Lots of muggings, murders, and shady deals would take place in this area. And I was tired and by myself in a part of town that I rarely ever visit. So I looked extremely out of place and looked like easy bait. Nevertheless, I stuck through it and began making my way down the street in the direction of my apartment. As I walked down the street, I noticed an alleyway that was a shortcut to my place. No one seemed to be around, so I decided to risk it and try to get home faster. As I began walking down the alleyway, I heard the distant, familiar croaky groans of that man who was in the stall next to me.
Yo, what's up guys?